Okay, we should be live. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We're going to do a special podcast episode. As you can see, I have a special guest, Mr. F's with Farham. So, firstly, Farham, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
No problem. It's a pleasure to be here, Paddle. How are you?
Excellent.
I'm all
Yeah,
good.
doing good, doing good. Still morning for me, so I got my coffee and everything. We'll see how we go with that.
Oh,
Um,
well, opposite end of the day for me, but I've
hey,
also got coffee for
coffee
the
is
opposite
coffee.
reason.
So thanks for coming today. I wanted to discuss some hauls with you since it's one of the main things you've been covering on your channel in recent times. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about some roguelike stuff as well, and maybe quiz you a little bit on PoE if we have a bit of time. And if anyone in the chat has any sort of questions or anything like that, as we go here, drop them in there, and maybe I can quiz Farham on those as well. We'll see how we go on that. But to start with, I thought it'd be interesting just to get to know Farham just a little bit more. So I'm curious sort of what got you started on YouTube and what your channel is about, just for the folks who sort of maybe don't know. Why don't you fill
Oh,
us in?
well, that's an interesting question. So, doing YouTube stuff was something I always wanted to do from when I was, for about a decade ago, really, I suppose. Something back when YouTube wasn't really a big thing that lots of people did, but
Yep.
for one reason or another, I didn't get started, and then some time freed up in the last sort of year or so. Got a lot of evening time free to myself, so thought I'd give making YouTube videos a go. Video games have always been a hobby of mine, and thought, well, I'll try recording them, and well,
Yep.
I guess I can try and be funny, and see how it goes. And it seems to have gone okay for the last year. So I've got, yeah,
That's good.
been really enjoying it.
Speaking of funny, I did enjoy your I don't know what to call him in the last video. You did the Darth Farham at the end.
Uh,
That was pretty good. Bring him back some.
I he was the hacker farm I made up because
Hacker
I
Farham,
had a
that's
lot
what he
of
is. Okay.
I guess the hacker farm. I guess the channel got big from one video I made where I found this weird glitch in Deep Rock Galactic, and
Ah.
a lot of people have been asked me to explain weird things I do in that game sometimes.
Yeah.
So I did a really technical video about JSON files and other nerdy nonsense.
Yep.
I made up a character for that to try and make that 4 minutes slightly more interesting
Yeah,
than
yeah,
just
yeah.
the thing. There you go. And then I thought I'd bring him back for some stuff.
Is Deep Rock the first game you covered? Deep Rock Galactic
Yeah,
Survivor, specifically, I should say.
Deep Rock Galactic Survivor was the only game that I covered for about, well, I don't know, 3 to 4 months before
Yep.
I tried anything else at all. Yeah, I've got probably 250 plus videos
Damn, that's a lot.
just on that game.
That's
I've
probably my
done pretty
total
much.
count, or probably less now. I don't know.
I
Um,
think you've got more than that. Yeah, I'm
Now
sure you
maybe I
have.
do. I'm not sure. I don't know. I've just been pumping them out in recent times. I don't know. It's always a bit
Yes, if
weird
you
on
had it.
YouTube to like, should I space them out? Should I spam them? It's kind of hard to say, but yeah,
I think you just have to pray to the algorithm gods and
yeah.
hope that someone's got you back at YouTube HQ and they're just pushing you out there.
It really feels that. I mean, I don't know if you've experienced this, but this is super fun behind the scenes. I had a video, literally did absolutely nothing for exactly 48 hours straight, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. It's the YouTube doing its thing, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I've had one or two early days that did that, and I don't know if maybe early days, if one person gets your video and shares it, all of a sudden it does
Yeah,
something,
it
or
could be something like that I'm just not aware of or whatever. But yeah, yeah.
all
I think.
sorts of potential magic behind the scenes.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. By the way, if you enjoy the stream today, go over to Farham's channel and smash subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a like on this one too while you're down there.
I mean, you probably should plug your own channel before mine, Paddle.
Nah,
Come
no,
on.
no, no, no. You're the special guest today. You get the plug. It's all right. So I did want to talk some hauls today, since we've both been, I don't know, pretty big hauls players, I would say, over the last 2 months. So it has been out for probably a little bit over 2 months now. And there's still some interest in the videos. I'd say maybe not quite as much as when when the game was first fresh, but still, still seems to be somewhat popular. What are your overall thoughts on Halls of Torment, just from a top level, and then maybe we can get into some, end game type discussion stuff as well. But yeah, overall thoughts on Halls of Torment?
I think it's an interesting game. It's very much a numbers game. I think if you like sitting there and planning out a build knowing where certain breakpoints are and things like that. It's quite satisfying to do that and get something to work. Certainly to solve some of the top level problems. I feel once you're starting to get into Torment 20 plus, what you're really looking at there is it's more of a puzzle game where you're trying to fit together a very specific set of pieces to solve a very specific puzzle, which again, interesting, but I don't know if that sort of puzzle solving at the very top level is anything more than a one-off.
Yeah.
However, I would say once you're in the 20 to 25 bracket, there's a lot of replayability there, and the depth of some of the abilities is very interesting. I think I'm still I've only scratched the surface with the different combinations that are out there.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I noticed is at least the way I played. So maybe a little bit of context. I pushed the high torment levels as quickly as I could in this game because I wanted to see what it was about and to push the difficulty, because that's something that I was doing previously in Death Must Die, and that was getting some traction on the channel. So I figured I'd take the same approach with Halls of Torment. However, that sort of ended me up in this spot where I didn't have most of the gear items, and I kind of felt like there was only one build, just like high crit, and that's sort of it, because that's sort of the gear that they give you early on. I could have sat there studying the quests page. I probably should have, but hey, I didn't. But no, I sort of agree with you. I think everything up until roughly Torment 20 feels pretty good. I'd say like early game was really, really fun to sort of learn and progress and all that sort of stuff. I think the Torment levels are a good idea. I just don't think they're quite implemented as well as they could be. But I think some of that is just like the gear stuff, maybe more so than the artifacts. I don't know. What do you think? Is it gear? Or is it stats? Is it just a bit of a combination of all the three of them there?
Well, I think there's certainly on the gear balancing side of things. If we look at what the Bloodcatcher could do, start of October time? Was it? Yeah. That was obviously very broken. However, the healing from that, I would have said, was comparable to what you were getting from the Bloodstained wrappings now. So at the moment, you're pushed into just one healing option, really, for High Torment, unless for Torment 25 plus, really. Unless you're running shitloads of Torment shards, and in which case then you've got a couple of other options in the form of potions and regen. But at that point, you've got to have been playing the game for 200, 300 hours, which isn't realistic for a lot of people.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be some serious gear balancing, because if you manage to balance that gear out, it gives you a lot. And it is specifically healing. It's specifically on effect healing that needs to be introduced, because that's what's required for high torment, really, to be able to do it based on gear balancing. So I think it really does come down to probably looking at what the Bloodstained shirt does, looking at that proc rate of the on damage one, possibly looking at maybe balancing out what the healing does for the blood, the blood soaked neck. You know the thing. I haven't used it
Bloodcatcher,
for
the
so
necklace.
Long. The Bloodcatcher. Yeah, I just said
the
the name. I haven't used it for so long. I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, they nerfed it into oblivion. I don't blame you. I expected it to be toned down. I did not expect the huge nerf hammer. It's a trash item now. Hey, it went from the best to the worst, probably. Close to it anyway.
I would say it's a neck that it doesn't seem to really work particularly well anymore. And I'm not. Also, isn't there a regeneration version of it, where the regeneration would only work when you're on full health, because the effect of it only works when you're on full health?
Yeah. So I think the regen portion, I think like it, when you're at full health, it'll then increase your overall your regen stat by like 0.2% or whatever. So I think in that way it still is doing something, but yeah, it's still pretty trash.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think having a proc once every 5 seconds, just like in a game where you're getting hit like 10 times a second or whatever, I don't know, however many times you actually, proc damage. But it's at least like 5-6 times a second, and then what you have to wait 5 whole seconds to get a heal out of it. It's gone from god tier to trash, basically.
I think direct healing at the moment feels like it's required for high torment. But
yeah.
there are ways you can balance mass regen builds. Like there's things you can do with the cleric with the summoning neck using astronomer's orbs, and you can get to something like 60 to 80 regen. Now that I guess that sort of works, but it's very niche and very class specific, and I think that needs to be shared out a bit more. That sort of personal defense.
Yeah, it can be tough to pull off those sorts of things too, because you're relying on the regen that you're trying to build up throughout the run. If you're at a real high torment level, you can easily just get taken out before you get to a stable point as well. Like,
yeah.
But I think I would agree with you though. The cleric is, at least that the cleric dedication on all that stuff is pretty good. Like, I'm not going to say it's bad or anything like that, but I do. Yeah, the on direct healing men is those wrappings. Nothing really comes close.
Nothing compares.
Yeah, especially when you can stack up some pretty crazy DPS stuff with certain abilities, and then you're just literally immortal. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Right. But at that point, the bloodstained shirt does come in. It can the 0.5% healing one, but you're sacrificing such a massive chunk of initial defense.
Yes.
That staying alive becomes a problem, and I think that's where I think the movement speed. The artifact that reduces your movement speed based on items worn, I think that just feels like such a terrible artifact.
Yes. I agree 100%. I would not be opposed to them just literally ripping it straight out of the game. It would make the game way more fun.
Replacing it with something else. Yeah.
Oh yeah, give us another one that's tricky. Like, I'm not. Look, I think it's worth also noting here. I don't think myself or Farham is like asking for the game to be easy or anything like that.
No.
Asking for more interesting ways to build the character when you go above Torment, that 20 to 25 sort of range. I think we both agree on that. So,
well, from what I've seen, I've been keeping an eye on the Kanban board, and I think you have as well, the developer one. And I think there are 4 or 5 new artifacts planned.
Yeah, it looks like 5.
So balancing around a set of decent artifacts that give a bit more gear choice might be possible with those artifacts. I haven't really considered sort of the theory crafting of it.
Oh yeah, no.
Much yet.
Not until they're in the game. Then I'll have a real think about it and see what we can come up with. But you did mention the D word, defense, not the other one. So defense. Not this time. One of the things that I don't know if you saw it, but in the Discord a little while ago, that one of the developers mentioned potentially thinking about rebalancing defense, because you could look at it one way, or you could look at it another way and say defense is the problem because defense is 100% a requirement above a certain torment level. So they were thinking of maybe, lowering the overall defensive values and bringing down the monster damage to sort of compensate. I have no idea if it's something they would actually implement. They said they were a bit reluctant to change it, but what do you think of defense? Is defense the problem, or is something, am I a bit crazy on my defense rants?
So, no, I see where you're coming from. I'm thinking it is fundamentally something I've built nearly every single build round. I can actually think of a couple now that I haven't gone into defense, but if you're not getting to somewhere around the 90% defense mark, you're going to have a tough time in high torment levels. You are going to have a tough time. But then getting to that 90% defense isn't too challenging. That's 200 flat defense rating, which actually is nearly always achievable without too much investment. It's not like you have to spec towards it, particularly. There are some other options, but yeah, I think block strength.
Block is interesting.
You need a lot more block strength value to get the same defensive value as you would get from defense. And I know the two things work in tandem to a degree, but I think block strength gave more for less, then that might balance out the problem a little bit more on the stats. But or if defense maybe had a hard cap of 90%, so there just wasn't a reason to stack it above.
One of the reasons that I rant about defense is some of the characters have 0 base defense and only get +3 from thick hide, and if you want to spec them out with gear pieces that don't have base defense on it, you start at like less than 10% damage resistance, and then you're just insta dead. That's one of the reasons that I don't really like the way it's currently implemented. It doesn't necessarily allow some of the characters to use some of the gear at certain torment levels, which personally I think would be more interesting. But do you think I'm a bit crazy on that, or?
No, I see what you mean. They're characters I don't play particularly often. But I know the ones you mean. You're
Yeah,
talking Warlock, you're talking Sage.
yeah,
They've got their zero
zero,
base
literally
value. They
zero.
get +3s. I think it goes 1-to-1 for percentages, doesn't it? Up to 60. So up to 60 defense, you're going 1 defense value is 1% reduction. I believe.
Haven't
And then it
exactly
starts to,
tested, but it certainly starts to curve off at around that point.
I think
Yeah,
it starts to curve up around then. Yeah, I see what you mean, because that is going to. You're either going to have to spec them with something like Shield Maiden to get the +5 defense, and it forces them down a certain route.
yeah.
That feels like it's something that would be almost be easily solved with having a flat plus defense in your blessings.
Well, yes.
But would that just make other characters too overpowered? But then it's when do you need to?
You would
tighten
maybe
the
need to
curve at
cap
the other
it
end?
in the shards if you were going to put it in there, though, because
Oh no,
just having
no,
like infinite.
I don't think through shards. I think
Oh,
through
not through
blessings.
shards.
You know.
Oh, the
where you
blessings.
run
Oh,
your-
right. The actual blessing shrine. Yeah, 100%. Why not? Add it in there.
a flat base bonus rather than, or as well as a flat percentage, or as well as a percentage bonus might get around that for the squishier classes. But you'd certainly have to then taper off the other end and tighten up the curve. Otherwise, you're going to have the Shield Maiden pushing up to 96, 97% damage.
Yeah. Man, yeah, some of the. I don't know, I did one run in the vault with the Lange Connect. Sorry if I'm butchering that still.
No, that's
I got the defensive value to like, I don't know, was it 97%? And I just wedged myself up in a corner and sat there until I got the hour, the hour-long achievement. And I was like, wow, I could probably sit here for 12 hours and just never die. It's ridiculous.
I heard the game starts doing something funny around the 80-minute mark and just sort of crashes a little bit in the vault. So,
Yeah. Oh, I was getting some weird graphical glitches trying to do the no movement challenge. Did you? Because I saw you did a video. Did you get the weird graphical stuff going on there too, or not so much?
No, I didn't. But I think I spec'd in to do a bit more. I spec'd in to kill a lot more than than you did. I was actually I ended up doing about 2 billion damage on that attempt.
Yeah.
But obviously, I watched your streams and your attempts for. I think I watched most of that stream. I think I had work the next day, so obviously I stayed up to 1 in the morning watching the stream.
Well, thank you.
and I thought quite long and hard about that one for a couple of days, and then thought, I think I know how it might work with slightly less shards.
Yeah. I'm sure there are plenty of different setups. I just I tested a few offline, and then I'm like, you know what? I think the audience might enjoy watching the struggle. So
I think those no movement challenges. I think there's certainly one for stream where you can talk to people while you're doing it.
Yeah.
If you see my video, it's completely compressed because there were just huge chunks where I'm just like,
that's where Hacker Farham comes out. And I really need to work on my lighting in here. Anyway,
especially I think that's another thing with Torment 30. Just to rant about it.
Yeah. Go for it.
Not being able to kill things, it becomes just a race to survive or race to get sort of stable enough, and then nothing happens for 10 minutes of the run because you're not killing anything, you're not leveling up, and I think that's what I meant by saying it's just a puzzle, isn't it? It's a puzzle to solve. And once you've solved it, you've solved it, and
it wasn't that hard to solve. I looked at after one of the attempts, I looked at the plate damage. I'm like, wow, that does a lot of damage. That must not scale down with that stupid artifact. So I just looked at who can give me the most defense. I pumped it up, and I got the clear straight away. I was like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, once you sort of see it, it's like, oh, okay, there's one very obvious solution here, which is one of the reasons that I think some rebalancing might be in order, because I just think it would be more fun if more different options were viable at the max sort of difficulty.
I think there's a build actually that can do it using the vacuum gauntlets, but I think you would need somewhere in the region of 2,500 to 3,000 shards.
Oof. Well, I did get it clear with the vacuum gauntlets and the chest piece. The blood-soaked chest piece had about 1,500 shards. It was quite tricky to pull off. It took like 12 minutes to get stable, but eventually I put it out.
That wasn't no movement, was it? That was
No. Oh, if you're talking about no movement, that's another story. Just Torment 30 in general. But yeah, no movement with the Thorn Fists. You definitely need more shards than I have, I think, because I just die way too quickly. Yeah.
what do you think about the shard generation late game?
Like what, collecting the shards and that sort of stuff, or
Yeah,
I think tying the 3 bosses to the 1 artifact that drops randomly is a problem because a lot of people get that one to drop last, and so farming shards for them is a huge pain in the butt. Whereas for me, I got it like maybe 4th or 5th or something, and so I was like, oh yes, I can shard farm now. It's pretty. Just like buff it at Torment 30 or whatever. Like, there's no reason to only get 3 to 4 when you're doing the maximum difficulty, and it's that much of a struggle. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think almost from 18 to 30, you might get 1 or 2 more shards, and that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I did a guide, I just said do, what was it, roughly like 10 to 15, somewhere in there is where I just recommended people do it, because it's easy enough to get it done, but you can also get almost max shard count out of it. So the vaults,
You just play as the Shield Maiden, play it for 3 minutes, get stable, run an auto clicker that clicks on the top, level up, and then just
that's it.
go and do whatever for 17 minutes.
That's it. Just keep going. The vault is interesting too. I don't know if you checked out. I did a $1 million vault run, and I only got 25 shards out of it. Trash! What a waste of money.
So that's slightly, yeah. So I did see your video, and I was going to do something similar-ish. I was going to see how long I could survive in a 500,000 gold vault, and I thought, oh, this could be a good one.
Interesting. Yeah.
I set up the vault, and I walked in with the Shield Maiden. I didn't set up the items properly, and I died in 35 seconds.
No.
No. Having spent the 500,000.
Oh, it's gone forever. No.
It's gone now. It's gone now.
Yeah. We live and learn, huh? I was a bit nervous going in with $1 million. I'm like, am I gonna totally whiff this? And yeah.
But it does get really hard. It does get really, really hard. When you've got that, with the monsters have got like 500% health right from the start. They're hitting you like agony 5s on. It's pretty. And the ghost it's the ghosts, the restless ghost things.
Retaliating ghosts or whatever they're called.
Retaliating ghosts, yeah.
Brutal.
You just can't dodge. I think they're
especially if you don't go in with enough movement speed, hey, and then you're just crawling around.
Yep.
Since we're on the vault, we may as well just talk about the speed runs a little bit here too. I've been really enjoying trying the speeds. I've never tried, aside from when I was young and just messing around with GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. I've never tried like proper speed running. Actually, I tried Mario Kart like time trials or whatever, but that's, it is what it is. But I've never done like any real speed runs. Have you tried any real speed runs before, or?
So once, but that was just Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I stuck a proper speedrun timer on once. I mean, a few people were doing speedruns. That was a couple of updates ago now.
Yeah.
But that literally one video, did it once for one video. That's it. I've not done it like the back and forth you and I had.
Yeah. I think that was part of the fun. You know what I mean? Friendly competition or whatever. So, yeah.
It was, and it was. It's okay. So it's a minute and. Well, it was a minute and a half. It's a lot less than that now, but it's just 90 seconds of sort of quite technical thinking. There's enough RNG in there that you're going to get a good run, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, or a good enough run that you feel like you're progressing.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's interesting. It's just enough in there to allow some different tactics to emerge too, which is really, really cool. I, for a long time, was trying to farm the XP to get to like level 5 really, really quickly. But my fastest run ever was not even going for the top one. Just literally just running as humanly clean as possible, just with Flame Strike. That's it. And that was my fastest one. So it's really weird. But some of my others that were almost as fast as that was like farming the XP. You know what I mean? So there are multiple tactics you can use in here, which is really interesting.
I was quite sure for a while that if we could get to level 5, it would shave off quite a lot of time, but I couldn't quite figure out how or where to do it without just bricking all the run time.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
yeah,
You end up losing quite a bit by doing like random curves and janking yourself up in the corner and all this stuff.
you
And
do.
I just think Flame Strike, at least for the higher Torment, if you're gonna do like not Torment, like shards, if you're gonna do 0 shards, it's a different story. But for like 600 or 1,000 or whatever, I just think Flame Strike and just doing the drive-bys ends up being probably the fastest in my experience. I don't know.
Possibly. I also, but that's why I was grabbing Transfixion as well, because then you've got the chance of getting plus 100% damage out of an urn at the end,
Yes. Or
and that would save
if you get
2
really
seconds.
lucky, you can
And
get a speed boost along the way too, which is out of one of those
or
pots.
if you're really unlucky, you can get a shield just before the last one, and then your
Yes.
Thorn Fist don't work
Yes.
until your shield wears off.
Huge pain in the butt. Yep.
That was my favourite one for to end a run. You would get to him at 58 seconds. You got to stand there for 6 seconds while you wait for the shield.
Yeah.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's been fun to do anyway. So I don't know, I was talking with Keen, one of the subs, and he was like, "Oh, we should do a no shard." So I put one up there, and then pretty much it's been cheesed already in like 2 seconds by someone who apparently has like 46,000 shards or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, so this this is actually just kind of stupid. No point in having
It's
a
been just
category if it's 2 seconds, in my opinion.
how long? 2
2
seconds.
seconds. Grabbed
No, that's not
aura, and
just.
because of the area and attack speed, it just killed everything straight away. Like it killed all 4 of the things and then killed him within 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah, it would do, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's super cheesy.
Yeah, it would do. Of
Yeah.
course, it would do that.
You need insane
That's really
area
smart.
and
That's smart that he thought to do that. I would that would take. Yeah, that's very clever.
he claims to have used an auto clicker and just sat there with the game on farming shards for however many days or whatever. It's like, yeah, I get it, and it is clever. You're right about that, but I don't personally think a 2 second speed run is very interesting because there's not much competition there. You know what I mean?
No, I mean that's as fast as it can go.
Yeah,
But
pretty
that's why
much.
you have categories for these things, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's going to be that's basically an any percent run, right? It's just over.
yeah.
It's just over. That's what it is.
So one of
But,
the I don't know if you saw in the Discord also one of the devs mentioned they might consider adding some more speed runnable stages in the future. That could be pretty cool. Nothing definitive though, so don't take it as gospel or whatever.
that's been said in the Chasing Carrots Discord.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
no, I
developer
missed
who
that.
talks in there, I don't know, a week ago or something. Yeah, it's in there. They mentioned that they might, so we'll see what they end up doing there. That could be fun to have some more speed runnable stages in there.
I think Halls of Torment price point for it's a great little game. It's a great little roguelike. And it is a rogue light and not a rogue light.
Yeah. Look, some people get genre defensive. I don't really care. It is what it is. I just kind of lump them all together. I even lump the deck builders in there. To me, they're similar. You know what I mean?
They're all just poker to me. If it's got cards in it, it's just another game of poker.
Did you try Balatro, by the way? Have you tried that game?
No, but someone mentioned it to me the other day on stream, and I did actually check it out, and I checked out the Steam page for it. And
You should try a
my
stream
dad
on
would
it.
quite like that one.
I would be fascinated to watch your first experience with Balatro. It is such an addictive video game. Holy crap! It's actually it was pretty popular when it came out too. I don't know how popular it is nowadays, but
I can always pick games up for a stream and try them out. So
highly recommend. It's one of my favorite rogue-ish kind of games, and my favorite deck builder that I've ever tried. It's one of those ones, man. It has so many different interesting combinations between the different Joker cards, different play styles, and there's different decks you can run and all that sort of stuff. Very, very cool game. I do recommend it. It's been nominated at the Jeff Keighley Game Awards too, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
The Jeff Keighley Game Awards.
You know that guy who claims he's some god in the video game space or whatever? He created the Game Awards. You're not familiar with him? Oh well, you've. That's actually good. I don't particularly care for him that much. I don't think he's a great personality, but it is what it is.
I'm just absolutely terrible with names. If you showed me his face, I'd probably be like, oh yeah,
Oh
right, that
yeah,
guy. Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen his face before. He's been around in the gaming world for a long, long time. But hey,
fair
I
enough.
don't hate him or anything. His show is mostly commercial. You know what I mean? Just filled with ads and
Uh,
just that sort of stuff. So I'm not really into it. But hey, an indie game got nominated for Game of the Year. So hey, that's awesome. Let's go.
fair enough.
Speaking of different rogues and stuff, you did try Magicraft on stream just today, as far as I'm aware. So tell me what your first experience with Magicraft is like, or was like.
Well, my yeah, I picked it up a couple of days ago, and I didn't play it. I thought I'll have my first proper experience of the game. I'll start the game first time on stream, and I thought it was going to be quite easy, and it wasn't. It's absolute chaos, but it was brilliant chaos.
Oh yeah,
The spell crafting looks good. The amount of combination of wands and different builds and things that there must be available in a game like that looks amazing. It looks like it's gone to full release with an absolute wide array of content. Thoroughly looking forward to getting stuck into what that game's got to offer. It's got a bit of a sort of weird cutesy look to start with.
yes, very Japanese anime. I'm pretty sure they're a Japanese studio. It is what it is, I guess. Just ignore the story if you don't like that stuff.
There was quite a lot of tentacles at one point.
Yeah.
And my guy had a really long neck, and it was all a bit strange.
Oh yeah, you save tentacle girls from monsters in this game. So if that bothers you, it is what it is.
I was trying my hardest not to read. I said, let's play the story, and then I wish I hadn't played the story, because as I went to read parts of it on stream, I was like, I think my father might be watching this, and I'm not sure if I want to hear him talk about how this spirit came inside me, or now we're going into his back passage for the first time in a long time. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see how this is today. I see what we're doing here today. Yeah, but no, brilliant game. I like the sort of... It looks like, again, is it roguelite? Is it roguelike? It looks like there's quite a skill cap to learning what the different enemies do and learning the different combinations of spells. And I don't know how much meta progression power there's going to be. Hopefully it's got a good balance. I think Halls of Torment has got a good balance between meta progression and sort of knowledge of the classes and the way different abilities work. Magicraft looks like it's going to be the same. DRGS is the same. I think when these roguelikes strike that good balance there, they normally do quite well. Yeah. So
I think with Magicraft, excuse me, one of the things that really impresses me about that game, but just sort of these sort of rogues in general, is I never felt like I hit like a grind wall or a progression wall or anything like that. Like I never once felt like, I have to stop and grind to continue making progress. Which is one of the things I called out in Nordic Ashes. I don't know if you ever tried that one, but I hit a point in that game where I just felt like I had to keep grinding the meta currency to make any more progress, and that's the point where I just I'm out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the Halls of Torment's got that as a super end game, but I think both of us have gone and proved that you don't actually need the shards to.
No, not if you learn what you're doing and collect the gear. Yeah.
Got the right starting gear, pick the right abilities at the right levels, and you can actually do these things.
100%. But Magicraft is definitely the type of game. It opens up the more you play it in terms of what's possible, as well as in terms of player power. And the more you experiment with combinations, you're like, wait, that's possible? Oh, wait, that's possible? And then things just go crazy.
Yeah, so it comes from player knowledge, which I think is what people call a rogue like, where the map's different every time, and most of the power comes from your own knowledge and not from grinding meta things. So
there is randomness, but it is similar. Each biome feels similar every time, but there is some randomness to the enemies and that stuff, and definitely the spells. It's always random, sort of what spells you're getting. But some of the meta progression stuff allows you to pick like multiple spells every time you pick up a spell. It like gives you an option of 3 and that sort of stuff. So it definitely starts to open up more the more you go. So you'll get there. Don't worry. It took me a while to get my first clear, so I'm not surprised that if you didn't get a clear straight away.
I think I got to the second to last boss. The one that puts the purple lines on the screen. I didn't know the purple lines were going to hurt me. And that killed me.
Yeah.
That happened twice.
Man, even when you get used to it, sometimes the screen is just so filled with special effects that it can be hard to see what's coming at you, what's your spell, what's an enemy, and all that sort of stuff. Which is one of one of these bullet heaven, one of the biggest problems in these bullet heaven games is just the clarity of your character and all that sort of stuff. But it's not just a Magicraft thing.
You can put your guy's head on a long neck and give him tentacles. It does help you stand out from the crowd, certainly. Yeah. I don't know if that's what they call peacocking these days, but that's what we're going with.
But Magicraft is really cool. One of the other games we did mention before is Deep Rock or Galactic Survivor. So that is one of your main games. Now, you actually entered a tournament. It was an invite tournament, right? Is that correct?
It was. It was put on by Ghost Ship Publishing and hosted over at the Ghost Ship Publishing offices. And it was the invitational for the release of Update 4 of Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. There was myself and 7 other streamers.
Did they actually get you to go out there, or was it just from home you were playing? Or
it was all done. It was all done remotely. It was their first event that they'd hosted like that. It was sort of hosted as it was styled as a sort of wrestling tournament with the wrestling style commentators doing sort of head to head on the same maps. And it was.
So what was the actual competition? You're going head to head against another player, like round based sort of thing, or what are we dealing with?
Yeah, so it was knockout rounds, so quarters, semis into finals, so 8-4-2, and we'd start on the same map with the same modifiers. We'd have a choice of how we wanted to set up our characters to tackle those modifiers, and then we would start the map at the same time, and it was the player with the highest score. Scores being something that were introduced in Update 4. The employee review score based on how many bugs you squash, how many minerals you mine, and it was score. Whoever got the highest score won. Basically proceeded through to the next round. And
was that after the update came out, or was it did you guys know what you were doing going in?
We had a week with the update before it came out, and I did stream it. I think five nights before the tournament.
I'll get some practice in, I guess. Makes sense. But I think the most interesting part is you actually, unless I'm mistaken, you came first, right?
I did.
So why don't you show us what's behind you? I can sort of see it a tiny bit.
Let's set this out.
Let's go. I set your belt. How cool is that?
It's got my name on it. It's metal plates.
Farham the Victor. Let's go.
Yeah, that was quite the thing to win. It was very nice.
How would you say the experience was overall? You had a lot of fun and all that sort of stuff. I bet you were a bit nervous, maybe? I don't know.
Looking back on the experience, I'd love to say, oh God, it was really, really fun. No, I was absolutely nervous. My hands were sweaty. I was shaking. We had to do interviews afterwards where we had to talk, and it was a struggle to find exactly the right words to say because the nerves and the adrenaline was still quite up.
Yeah.
And we're going head to head with each other, but we're in a Discord voice chat, and we're in a Discord voice chat with the commentators, so we can hear what the commentators are saying about the other person, and that was getting the nerves up and up and up.
Yeah.
And then in the final, it was myself versus Idle Cub, and Idle Cub's someone I've watched a lot of his videos, and it was a bit of an inspiration when I first started, and going up against him when
a little bit nervous, but you won against him, so well done.
We were both really nervous. I think we were both really nervous.
I would
have done something like that before. So yeah, but it was definitely interesting. Great to get invited. If they do something like that again, I'd love to go back.
Yeah,
got to defend the title, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, surely, if they do another one, you're a guaranteed entrant, being the victor of the first one. Surely.
You'd think.
What about Deep Rock Galactic? So Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. What is the future of that game? Do you know? Have they? Not I'm asking you to spill any behind the scenes things, but do you have any idea what the future of that game looks like? It's still in early access, right?
It is still in early access. The devs don't speak to me specifically about what's going on. I don't get any insider knowledge or anything like that, and nor would I want it either, because I think it'd be one of those things I'd struggle to keep to myself.
Yeah, fair enough.
But they've been very regular with the updates. There's been 4 major updates since the game released in February. They've been roughly every sort of 2 to 2.5 months with minor updates and hot fixes between those. And I expect there will be a number more updates coming. There's a planned roadmap with at least 10, 11 features listed on it. Not in any particular order, but sort of planned one release ahead at least. And the devs have been completely transparent. They've got, obviously it's a Deep Rock Galactic game. The original Deep Rock Galactic is quite a massive IP.
Oh yeah.
You got bands like Windrose singing songs and getting attributed to them with their Deep Rock Galactic songs. So they're
I saw like a mug or something they're doing too.
Yeah, they're doing the mugs. They've got the Kickstarter out on those. So the IP really is growing. Fun Day Games have got quite a couple of good games under their belt as well. So I expect that game will do well and continue to do well. It's got fairly active, very active Discord, and sort of regular player base that's playing daily. And they've released daily missions at the moment as well, where you can go and try your luck at some where everyone gets the same map seed, so you're all playing on exactly the same map, so you can go and talk about it and discuss the best strategies for it and that sort of stuff. And they're bringing the community thing in like that, and bringing the community together. And Deep Rock Galactic's a very community-driven game, so
I did play the original a bit, like the FPS exploration / he's a driller guy. I was just running around through the walls going driller. It was fun.
They've done a great job with that first FPS game of sort of encouraging team play as being the way that you win, and actually if you don't work together as a team you won't succeed. And I think that carries across into the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor community. They're nice people.
Yeah.
I think it comes from having a game that fosters team play rather than solo play. Although, of course, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is a solo game. I'm talking about the IP it's come from in a wider context.
So wait, there's a solo game as well?
Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, that's solo only.
Oh, right. That one. Yeah, of course. I was thinking about the original still. Yeah. All right, don't mind my morning brain.
Another coffee.
Yeah, well, I haven't finished it yet. It's kind of going lukewarm now, though, so to speak.
I have finished mine, but if I have any more, I won't sleep until 4 in the morning.
Yeah. What about any other roguelikes or any other, rogue adjacent sort of games you're interested or looking forward to in the future? Or
yeah, there is one actually I'm quite looking forward to, and that's Slay the Spire 2.
Yes.
Which I'd say is sort of rogue adjacent. In fact, I'd say it's roguelike really.
Yeah,
it's very skill
very
based.
much so, I think.
I played the original quite a lot. I think I was a bit late to the party to do anything with it on the channel, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Got up to Ascension 20.
Oh yeah, nice. Is that the max? I can't remember. I think I got up to like 16 something before I just, went on to another game. But man, I played the crap out of that like 2 years ago or something maybe. I can't remember exactly when it came out in its 1.0. Man, what an addictive game. Hey, that's another one of those deck builder ones. Yeah, man, the more I think about it, the more you should definitely try Balatro if you're into Slay the Spire. I think you'll get a big kick out of that game.
I do like the deck. I do like the deck builders for sure. Definitely do enjoy them.
Slay the Spire 2 2025, they said? Is probably an early access release, I imagine.
I think I had heard then. For some reason, I've got February in my mind, but I don't know where I've got that from. I can't remember, but I've heard it is a 2025 release. There's regular updates again around that every month, so I just have to keep an eye on it. But that's one I'm looking forward to playing on the channel.
Yeah.
Obviously, when Deep Rock Galactic Survivor goes full release, that will be something I'm looking forward to. But that's the gift that keeps on giving, of course, because we're getting updates for that a few times a year. So, But other than that, not overly. I've been playing Nimrods recently. That's a pretty good one.
How would you rate Nimrods for someone to get into? Is it easy-ish to get into, or?
Yeah.
Just pick up and play.
It's a bullet heaven game. It's got auto aim. You can play it with one hand if you want. Or you have to.
Oh, you can do the one hand. Look, I'm not opposed to playing some one-handed games.
There you go. It's one you can play like that. So it's quite easy to pick up. There's enough about it that you can learn versus have to wonder. Well, there is about a 40-50 hour grind of unlocking everything, but I'm I think there is quite often with games,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
these sort of indie roguelike games. I think that's where they get a lot of their replayability in the early game, is doing the unlocks, and then it's seeing what you can do with all the things that you've unlocked.
yeah. How
Um,
far can you push it? That sort of stuff.
yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So
Um,
it's a pretty good
yeah.
one.
Sorry, go on.
How about yourself? You got your eye on anything
Um,
looking forward?
Geez, trying to think. I mean, Slay the Spire 2 is definitely one that I'm going to play, as I love the first one, like I mentioned. Roguelike specifically, I mean, nothing that really sort of springs to mind aside from, I think, Hades 2, when it hits 1.0, I definitely will get into that. I have played about 2 hours of it, and for whatever reason, at the time, I just decided, you know what, I might just wait for the 1.0 for this one. Not sure why, because it was pretty popular. Probably would have done well on the channel, but it's not something that I really got into. I can't really put my finger on it too. Maybe I was just not feeling it at the time or whatever. I don't know. Do you like the
I,
more action roguelike ones, like the Hades
I do.
likes?
I've really enjoyed the first Hades. Actually, it's probably one of the first roguelikes I played for, or roguelites I
Yep.
played for, or played in depth. I've probably got about 400 or 500 hours actually on that game, and I
Ooh.
have played Hades too. I've even played it on the channel.
Oh.
Did a couple of streams on it. But much the same as yourself, I thought I'd wait for the main release of it, and I can't put my finger on why. I think it's because it's such a story-driven game. I figured I'd have to go through the story on the main release anyway, and I
That's
would only
true.
go through that story once. And I really loved that. I think the story side of the first Hades game gave you 100 hours of content before you even got to the replayability bit, where you're just grinding the end game, because the story was so in depth. And I think I just wanted to really appreciate that story again a second time, because I figured the story would be
Didn't you have to beat
uh,
it like 10
on
times
par.
or something to clear the story? Because I eventually did, but it took me
Yeah.
ages. I can't exactly remember.
Yes, you did, and I figured you're probably gonna have to do the same thing on Hades
Yeah,
too. So just wait for the full release once
yeah,
all the story and everything's in place, right? Otherwise, I might not want to have to complete it 10 more times if I've already completed it 30.
yeah. Oh, I think that's
Whatever.
going to be a pretty good one when it does eventually launch. The
Yeah,
other, I don't know, other games, there's not really that much, for me. I used to be a pretty big Destiny player, because I have a few friends that were really into it. Now, I know not everyone loves Destiny, and quite frankly, it has a lot of flaws, and I'm never going to sit here and say it's an amazing game, but there are some multiplayer qualities to it that are really good. Like, it's a good hangout place with your friends and that sort of thing. But man, what a disappointing story it's been with Destiny over the years. I just at every
isn't that
point there's just like no interesting gear progression that they add to the game. It's like, what are you guys doing? This is a loot game. Like, what are you guys doing? And
didn't
everyone's
they
just
lock
fallen
or
off. Sorry, go on.
didn't they lock or get rid of loot each season? They started gating old loot and just cutting it off, and it
Yeah,
was
so at one point, like, I don't know, like 4 to 5 years ago now, they introduced an update that literally removed half of the content from the game, even if you'd paid for it. Good stuff, guys. And they started putting like a 1 year time limit on the gear, but it wasn't like a 1 year limit from when you had the drop. It was a 1 year limit from when they introduced the piece of gear. So it's actually quite possible to get a piece of gear that expires in 2 months or something like that. It was such a huge mess for a loot game. It's like, if you're going to do a full economic reset, just do it. But I don't know. That's man, it's been such a
then I
mess
think
ever since then, dude. That was such a big mistake. It's never been the same since.
it's like a Tarkov style loot reset or something, like a seasonal reset
Something,
might have
yeah.
done better than just cutting content from the game, especially. But I think that a lot of live service games are going that way. I think that's why people tend to go away from them. I mean, my game of choice before all of this was World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft.
Nice.
I was a guild master, ran a mythic raiding
Ah.
guild, or a mythic raiding guild. So
I never
yeah,
actually played as one. I never got into.
I know a lot about live service games and things becoming redundant. You're playing a
Yes.
season for 3 months, and then the new season comes out, and the gear you got last season's only good for the first week, and then you're starting to replace it all,
Yeah.
and the cycle continues. And
I don't mind some sort of reset. It's just, man, the way Destiny did it was like a big no-no. Everyone just complained. I mean, it was universally hated that they eventually changed it. Now they say, oh, nothing will ever expire, but now there's no reason to chase new gear because I have 600 items in my vault that are already god tier. There's never any reason to chase anything new now. So it's like a problem in the other direction now. They've gone from this extreme to that extreme.
Yeah, you can see why a games company would do that, right? Because they're like, well, we want people to play the game and have the experience again and keep having the experience and enjoying the experience. Whereas if they've already got loot and the thing you're going to get from it is, otherwise all they're going to do is keep making number bigger, right? And make number bigger. Eventually people go, right, well, I'm hitting for 1E194, so
Yeah.
what does it all actually mean?
Well, yeah, it's meaningless at that point, right? It's like Diablo 4, they're already hitting for trillions and trillions of damage. It's like, where do you go from there, right? You just have to squish the numbers, and then it just feels like a cycle of repeating. Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did in World of Warcraft. People got to hitting for billions, and then they just squashed all the numbers. But and that's actually when I came back to it, when they did the number and the level squash back to 60 was when I started playing it again.
Yes, the numbers in Destiny are pretty much meaningless. That's one of the reasons that I've like fallen off it. There's like your attack value doesn't matter anymore. Your defensive stuff is just like one stat that goes from 1 to 10, and that's it. And like I don't know. I could go on a very long Destiny rant, but the loot in that game is very, very bad at the moment. Very uninspired, I would say. It's a loot chase game too, so crazy.
There's one very
it's gone.
Oh, no, you go on. No.
I was just gonna say I played a lot of the looter shooters. That was my jam for a long time. Like everything from like Borderlands to Division and all that sort of stuff. I tried a bit of all of them, and man, just none of them can get gear right. I don't know. None of them can get gear and gear progression. I don't know. They keep making the same mistakes.
Borderlands had some very interesting guns in it. Of course it did, but it was very easy to get something overpowered early, and that was just good enough for the rest of the game.
Oh yeah, I had in Borderlands 2. I think I picked up I don't know. I can't remember the rarities there. Maybe it was like legendary, and it just set everything on fire. And then I just for like 20 levels, I never had to equip another gun or something. It was just carrying me. Borderlands, I guess Borderlands 1 and 2 back then, it was a bit of a different beast because no one else was really doing looter shooters specifically. Maybe someone had done something, but not to my knowledge anyway.
I think they were the first sort of AAA style.
Yeah, the one that kind of went into the mainstream.
Yeah, caught a lot of people's attention, not just sort of the mainstream.
Yeah. The original Division was a really, really interesting game. I don't know if you ever tried that. It had this PvP zone they called the Dark Zone where you could. It was like before extraction shooters were really a thing. You could kill people, steal their loot, and like hoist it up onto like a helicopter and literally steal their loot. It was like a big open zone. It was really, really interesting, but totally unbalanced, huge mess. But it was fun.
Tom Clancy, Clancy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I never actually played it, but I did hear good things about it.
It was fun, but they just didn't support it properly after the first like year or whatever. They did a sequel, and then no one kept playing the sequel. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, end of game when that happens.
The AAA side of things is interesting. I don't really play as many AAA. Man, the lighting in here is getting even worse. Hey, with the sun moving and stuff.
You need to get yourself a Philips Hue so you can just be bright white like me.
I'll have to do it if we ever do another one of these. I'll have to because this is it's getting a bit dark. But hey, it is what it is. I did want to maybe quiz you a little bit on Path of Exile too, as well, because I know you're at some point in the past you said you played some PoE1. So tell me what drew you to Path of Exile, and are you going to try PoE2?
Well, when I was so one of the first games I remember playing as a young lad was Diablo 2, and I loved it. I really loved that game. And Path of Exile was a game I found long after it first released. Probably, I think the first season I remember playing Path of Exile was the Vault season. Then I played the Harvest season, and then a couple of others when they brought Harvest back. But it's a game I've dropped in and out of to play leagues. They're called leagues, aren't they? Not seasons. To play about 5 or 6 leagues of, and every single time I've thoroughly enjoyed it. With Path of Exile 2 literally just about to release, it's open beta it's beta's next week, isn't it?
Yep.
I think it would be it's just the depth of character creation, the way skills and gems and things work. And I know things have changed a bit, but the essence of everything still looks very much the same, as well as the depth of end game content that game has for an action RPG is completely unparalleled. What they're releasing with Path of Exile 2 as end game content, I think there's basically 5 or 6 league mechanics coming over, maybe more. It's going to feel, I think it's going to feel like the most full and complete AAA game release that probably would have played for a while.
Yeah, and it's only early access too.
Yeah, it's going to feel like the most full and complete early access release.
So I don't know if you have been checking out any of the content. There was one interview the game director did with, I think his name is Legendary Drops on YouTube, and they said that they actually weren't initially going to have a big end game when EA launched, but they saw how hard Diablo 4 was getting roasted. So they pivoted their entire company and just put everyone on endgame for the EA release. And it looks like it's paid off, man. It looks crazy.
I played part of Ritual League. But no, it wasn't Ritual League. The league where you basically did tower defense in Path of Exile 1. And it does feel like they probably went to a slightly smaller team working on the Path of Exile leagues over the last maybe 12 months or so. I think they've been small. I think they've been smaller leagues. They've gone to like a one big league, couple of small league. Like,
isn't this Calgur one going on for a long time now? Or?
Yeah, I think they've had some longer leagues as well, so it makes sense that they're pivoting to get Path of Exile 2 up. With Diablo 4 floundering like it did, and with the latest Diablo 4 expansion, which I didn't even pick up, but its press is terrible.
Did you play the initial launch, Diablo 4?
I did. I was very hyped for Diablo 4, and actually, I'll say this: I think the story of Diablo 4 was really well done, and I'm glad I got it and played through the campaign. But the end game just wasn't there. It was just bad. The itemization was bad. It was just bad. I know they've done a lot to fix it up now, but now the story's bad, so I'm not. I think it's
one problem to another, huh?
Yeah.
I did play a little bit, but my thing with Diablo 4 is I actually, one of my friends tried to get me into one of the seasons, and they were just like hard carrying me through the Helltide thing. And as a new player, that is such a bad experience, such a bad way to get into that game, because you literally have hundreds of items dropping every 2 minutes, and you don't know what any of them really do. None of it, so many currencies just littering the screen everywhere. And I understand PoE has like items, but they're just items, and to me, it kind of made a bit more sense going through the PoE campaign, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I didn't do campaign, so that was,
The PoE endgame definitely has an item problem. I think they've got that fixed and changed in PoE too, though. But the PoE, doing a map in PoE, and it's if you don't have loot filters, your computer's going to crash from trying to load too many labels.
Yeah. I only ever played the Crucible League a little bit. I'd never really got into the endgame. To be honest with you, there was one point in the campaign where I got a bit lost because I just couldn't find one of the objectives, and I ended up like over leveling by like 20 or 30 levels. I'm just like, this game is really cool, but I have no idea like where I'm going, what I'm supposed to be doing. It seems to be one of the things that they are kind of fixing up with the sequel, is like make it a little bit more understandable, like for newer players as you sort of get into it.
I think certainly with the league mechanic, there was a very streamlined way to do the campaign, where if you weren't doing the campaign, if you were a serious league player, if you weren't getting the campaign done in the first day and sort of into the end game, you would fall so far behind on being able to use the market to get your gear, unless you're doing solo self-found or that sort of thing. But if you're doing solo self-found, you need such an intricate knowledge of the game and every item that's dropping that it's like, Path of Exile really was. Yeah.
Would you say you need to trade, or is it more just beneficial but not a requirement?
I always had a lot more fun in Path of Exile playing on Trade League and trading and farming currency, and then you could go and read guides and you could read builds, and you could do things to collect your currency, and then there'd be people that would trade you the items for the build for your currency, and then you could play the fun build you wanted, and it would be. You could experiment with lots of different builds in a league, because once you're done with your build, you can sell your build and you could buy the gear for a different build, and you can sort of. It would get you a lot of different experiences in one league. So I always played Trade League for that reason, but it did involve having to use a lot of third-party things to do your trades and get your trades, and
a little bit
that
messy.
was a bit of a ball ache. yeah, it would have been better if there was something more integrated. I think there is now, actually, thinking about it. But anyway, yeah.
Would you say 3 months is a good amount of time for like an economic reset? Is that too quick, or is that okay? Like, what do you think?
I think that's going to completely depend on someone's individual circumstance. I think for a game like PoE that was as grindy as it was, over 3 months, if you were going to seriously compete with wanting to get level 100 characters and get a very, very good build online, you'd be needing to put in 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
At least. And 2 of that's going to be trading, and then 3 of it's going to be currency farming or doing whatever. Or you could be really, really clever about it and just flip currency and make as much as you want, and then just buy whatever you want. But I was never that clever.
Yeah, yeah.
And that takes longer than 5 hours a day.
Yeah. One of the things that really interested me in the was it in the presentation, or maybe it was in one of the interviews that I watched with Mr. Rogers, but he was saying that you can now actually respec just using gold. So like back when I played, apparently you couldn't respec and it was possible to like brick your character after like 50 to 100 hours. Is that really how it worked? That seems insane to me.
It's not quite like that. So gold isn't a currency in the original Path of Exile.
Yeah.
There's no gold, but there are lots of currency orbs, and one of them is called an Orb of Regret, and you can use that, and then you get a point you can use to respec a point out the tree.
Yep.
But you have to go and farm the Orbs of Regret or trade other currency for them. Or again, this is another reason to want to play on Trade League, right? Because
yeah.
you can buy a stack of 100 Orbs of Regret off someone, and there you go. You can
then you're
rebuild your
sweet.
class. You don't need to level up again. So there's ways, but I think they've simplified a lot of that stuff down to be gold now in PoE2, from what I understand. So.
Yeah, so just from like just hearing someone say that, which sounded kind of crazy to me, it's like you can really like brick your character after hours and hours. That seems like a crazy design choice, but it seems like they changed it anyway. So
you could if you were doing solo self-found, I suppose, and you clicked on the wrong node and you didn't have one of those orbs, and then you did something silly. There might be one. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
As you said, things are changing. They have evolved a bit with the game.
So did you check out the hour-long sort of presentation video sort of thing they did, just with some endgame and classes and that sort of stuff?
No, I watched Josh Strife Hayes 15 minutes sort of recap, abridged version.
yeah. He's cool. I sort of came across him recently on YouTube. He seems like he does some pretty interesting content.
Oh yeah, I've caught his stuff for a few years now. He does do some good stuff. His worst MMO ever series was something I really enjoyed.
I came across that. Yeah. Just with PoE2 though, what do you think of this new Atlas? Is it like different enough from the old version that it's like exciting to existing players?
Yeah, I think it is. I actually have a canvas old Atlas map somewhere, and I don't know where it is.
Be around somewhere.
PoE2, as we're getting everything out.
Oh damn!
There's the old Atlas. There's the old Atlas.
Damn. All right. So this one, it sounds like it just keeps spreading out in all directions. So to be bigger than the old one, is that? Am I getting that correct? Or
it does look like it does look like it's going to be a little different, but honestly, we'll have to see when it starts to play out.
That's fair.
Looked enough into the
actual mechanics.
Finite, into the small detail like that.
Yeah. To me, it seems interesting because, I mean, not only gives you something to do in the end game, obviously, but being able to like slowly level it up over time through like it has its own like skill tree, and then apparently there are like mini skill trees within the Atlas skill tree and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, so the Atlas skill tree is in PoE 1 now, so I think it's going to be a similar move over of that mechanic. But yeah, you can specialize your Atlas to give you certain end game modifiers and end game encounters, and yeah, it's going to be good. With so much end game content available, having a way to tailor your maps to give you the content that you enjoy is really good. And I think the way that they work with currency in that series, and then have all of those end game contents funnel into the same currency pool, maybe with a couple of specific rewards as well, just works really well.
Do you have a favorite character? And if you do play PoE2, what would your starter character be?
My favorite character on PoE1 is probably probably the oh god, the Templar guy.
Uh, is he like
Going
a
righteous
monk or
fire.
something, or is that the second
Yeah.
one?
No, it's the witch, and then going for a horde minion build. That's what I like to season start
Ah,
with.
yes, the
So I can be
minions.
nice and lazy and just run around with my mouth and let the minions just kill everything and just AFK maps basically. That's what I like to do. And then save up for crazy juggernaut armor stackers and that sort of thing. But I just don't know what's going to be possible in PoE2 until I
Until
start
you
to get
actually
my
get in
hands on
there.
that free.
Yeah,
Start getting the theory crafting done.
In
Certainly
PoE
hard
1,
to
the
know.
main character I used was the Archer. I went for the Mirage Archer Rain of Arrows spam. Just constantly spamming arrows everywhere. That was what I did in the campaign anyway. I don't know if it scales crazy into the end game, but that was really powerful for just like running through the normal campaign maps and stuff. It was a pretty fun build.
There are some big end game ranger builds. There are Pathfinder, some like normally doing things with potions, and they're normally very expensive builds that need very, very expensive belts to work. But yes.
We'll see. There looked like two ascendancies for the Archer. One was definitely a potion type user. I think the other one was
Yeah.
more about just like arrow spam or whatever. So that's where I'm leaning towards if I do the Archer. We'll see how we go though. It looks pretty interesting. One other thing that they did mention is because they pivoted to endgame like we said before, instead of having 6 acts, they're going to have 3-act campaign. Then you have to repeat it on cruel difficulty before you can actually get to the end game. What do you think about that? Should they just let you go into the end game after? I feel like newer players might fall off if they have to repeat the campaign again straight away. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's been a while since people had to do. Yeah, so that's how PoE1 started, and I think it worked fine. I think the 10-act system in PoE1 is too long. I think it's too convoluted, and newer players can get quite lost going down that route and then become, as I said, unoptimal and have a very slow start, especially to leagues. So if they're new starters into a league, it's a bit of a problem.
Yep.
I think maybe having 3 acts repeated might. I think it does run that risk of having some people fall off, having to do the same thing back to back. But at the same time, if you're playing PoE and you're going into the end game content, you're going to be doing something that's reasonably repetitive.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're still running the maps, right? Even if they're
you're running the map, and you generally actually pick a specific map because you'll be target farming things and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And if the campaign is more linear with less side quests that you can go on so that you can actually get cleaner league starts and it's designed more around that league start experience, then it should be fine. Also, it probably lends into the fact that they'll make it a 6-act experience at some point. It's just they haven't got that far yet.
Yeah. They did say the intent was 6 acts or whatever. So they pivoted to actually have an end game though, which I think was the right call anyway. So
I think so as well. People play PoE for the end game; they don't play it for the story. The campaign's done and dusted, and you're into your maps, and that's what PoE is all about. So I think they've made the right choice too.
They did mention a lot of side content though, so there maybe that'll be annoying on repeat play every season if you have to go do a bunch of side missions. But if they give you good loot, I don't know.
Yeah, you just find ways to speedrun it. That's what it's all about, right? Yeah. That's where half the fun is of PoE. Getting your campaign rundown time. Yeah, getting your campaign rundown time. Runtime down.
One of the things they did mention is they're trying to make it feel better, like on controller and stuff. And I like playing action games on controller. Obviously, the menu stuff is way better on a mouse. I'll never dispute that. But I just like running around on a controller. I find it to be casual feeling, you know what I mean? Nice and relaxed. So we'll see.
No, I was sweatlord it with keyboard and mouse, so use a controller.
We'll see how we go. Did you switch to controller in Halls of Torment? Was that you who mentioned you were going to look at a controller?
I was thinking about it when I was seeing how smooth your movement was on the when we were going against the when we were doing the record runs. Yeah, I was thinking about it then, but that's the only time I've thought about going to use a controller.
Yeah, fair enough. Nah, look, man, if you grew up with mouse and keyboard, I can totally understand that's your jam or whatever. I just played so many console games over the years. Especially when I was young, that's how I learnt to play. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We'll see if we have any questions come in for the end here. Is there any other topics or anything you would be interested in discussing before we wrap it up for today?
Man, I think we covered off some good stuff there. I think PoE2 coming out soon is a good one. It's obviously a multiplayer game.
Yep. Oh yeah, we
Who
should
knows
jump in
how
for
that
some
campaign-
co-op at some point if you're interested. That'd
Of
be fun.
course, of
Yeah,
course. Especially with a game like that, it could be great fun.
Yeah. I'm down. Yeah, we should do
I think
do something with that.
I think we cross streams on occasion.
Oh yeah,
So-
man, we could do a duel. I could jump in your stream, just say hi. That'd be fun. We'll just see if there are any other questions. I did put out the idea of putting some questions. Just give me a second. The only game, one of my regulars, I can't remember how to pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Tiza, I think it is, says it's actually the only game they 100%ed on Steam. I think they're talking about Halls of Torment, which is pretty cool. What's your Vault world record without added shards? Mine is 1 minute 43, I think, without any shards. Did you do a shardless one at all?
I have not done shardless attempts yet.
Okay.
I have not. I was going to do, if I hadn't picked up Magicraft, it would have been a Halls of Torment.
Yeah.
Tonight. So we'll probably have to wait until Monday, and I'll give some world record attempts.
Yeah.
Then I like to do one of those streams once a week, but I don't like to push myself too much on it.
Yeah, no, you can't sit there doing it
fun.
every day.
I don't want to make it not fun.
Yeah, so mine's 142 at the moment. I think the shardless is actually an interesting puzzle because it's still about speed, but you're really not able to one shot the altar things at all. So it's really about kind of where's your damage coming from, as well as how are you surviving, and how are you surviving the boss too, because he can KO you pretty easily too. So it's a different puzzle, but it's interesting, and it's still short enough that you can do it under 2 minutes, around that 2-minute mark before you start pushing it down, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's another interesting puzzle.
I've got a vaults done and do vaults in under 2 minutes with no shards, I think. Right, I'll have to see how fast that actually is. I don't think it's 143, I think it's like 153 or something. So I might have a time on it. But yeah, I'll probably give that a go Monday, see if I can get close to your time.
If you want to just do a random challenge, you can do vault no green gear and no shards. My best time for that is 2 minutes 44. That's pretty tough. I'm not gonna lie, that one it's possible to do, but it is a lot tougher. Yeah.
Level up a skill maiden so you've got enough defense.
Just before we end it, maybe a good place to end it would be the future of Halls of Torment. Is there anything you're expecting, aside from obviously we know there will be some new artifacts and stuff? Would you like to see this game sort of keep getting support and updates, or do you think just some small things here or there? Like, is there anything particular that?
I think another sort of fixed event like the Vault wouldn't go amiss. I think that would be good if there was a possibility for more classes and more abilities. I think that there's a lot of room for expansion there. I think any added class, any added ability gives a lot more replayability to the game. I think any added items give a lot more replayability to the game, especially if they can balance in some healing stuff. So yeah, I think I'd like to see a couple of post-release patches that just maybe expand on the abilities and items that are there first, and then maybe an area or a character second. That'd be nice. I think it would give a bit more to the game. But it's got a couple of 100 hours content in it as it stands anyway. More so if you're into the grind.
Yeah, there's plenty there already if you are into the grind. One of the things they said they were going to maybe add is like some altar type things to the map. I don't know if you saw that in the codex thing, that have different effects. Like one of them was like you could sacrifice a gear item to permanently gain the stats off it for during that run. So there'll be some interesting like in-game build things that you could potentially do in the future.
Yeah, that cool. Sort of thing would be good as well. Replayability to the maps where you're thinking on your feet based on what's happening. A bit more reactive gameplay than planning gameplay. Something like that would be good too. And you're right, that is on the board. So yeah.
For me, just any sort of new content would be good. I think any new gear items that are interesting, any new stages, or I think a bit of a rebalance too would go a long way at this point, because it's been like 2+ months now. So a little tweaking to the balance could be fun as well. What's your cat's
Indeed.
name, by the way?
Cat's name is Shoe.
Shoe.
She is. Yeah,
Shoe.
like shoe, like you wear on your foot. Yes, but she doesn't listen to that word because that's her
Yeah.
name. So she
Yeah,
she
yeah,
comes when you say shoe instead. I have another one called Nugget. He's sitting.
Oh,
over
really? You
there.
got two. Nice. I do have one, but he's
Yeah.
literally a scaredy cat. He's just so scared of strangers. He'll disappear under the house or whatever. It's like, right, see you later, mate.
Yeah. This one is, but she's just.
Yeah.
She'll be fine.
All right, well, thank you very much, Farham, for coming on the channel today. If you want to do another one at some point in the future too, I'm down for that. Obviously, I'm not gonna, force you to do a regular schedule or anything like that.
Man, it's been a pleasure. I like talking about video games. Don't get to sit down and talk about video games very often. I hope people have found our discussion on games interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll be glad to do something like this again soon, but maybe co-op PoE2 first.
Yeah, that sounds fun. So don't forget to go over to Farham's channel and click that sub button while you're here on the video. Click like and subscribe as well. Thanks, as I said, to Farham. Thank you all who's tuned into this one. And if you click on the past broadcast as well, thank you very much for that. And we'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Have a great day.